I miss Pietro. I should go back to Animal Crossing. No, no, Aiden, don't do it. Don't go back to Animal Crossing. Don't do it. Don't do it. It ruins everything. Normally, I'm very much a supporter of doing what is good and feels good for you, but at this point I'm so mad at Animal Crossing because I'm like, you fucked up all of my plans for my backlog. You fucked it all up. Now here I am redoing my island. You fucked it up. I went to Japan and their rail and buses were amazing. Yeah, I heard public transport in Japan is incredible. It doesn't have to be New York specifically, but I know I need to be somewhat closer to some kind of progressive city. Feel that. Feel that. Hate where I live now. Understandable. Let me post this. Are you playing anything off stream besides Animal Crossing New Horizons? No. I should be, but here I am. Maybe one day I won't be dilly-dallying like this. I need to do something because right now I cannot progress in the story because I'm getting my ass beat, and I was gonna do maybe a little bit of grinding. Actually, Krez, are you busy? Look over there. I grind xenoblade to sleep. That's a good idea. So valid. I miss AC2 though, but the Pokemon Shield DLC lets me take walks with my Pokemon. That's all I care about. Wait, Pidge, that's so cute. Oh my god, you can take walks. What, Kraz, do you know what Joker runs are? I mean, well, Proxo links stuff, but I think I forgot to look. Wait, is that what we're doing? After I buy mystery wallpaper from Sarah on my island, no worries. The most important thing is enjoying yourself. Thank you. Thank you for validating me. I just want to be like you, Aiden. I want to actually finish games. Maybe I'll get there one day. One day. People who are like Sword and Shield are garbage. Like, I don't know what you want in a Pokemon game, but I'm having a great time. Yeah, like some people are just like overly negative about stuff. And I don't know. I kind of hate how some people are just like haters. Like, I get it because I'm a hater too, but like not to that extent. You need some augments on your skull. Wait, for Joker runs? It's the way I pause finishing any game. I was gonna say, is Hope okay? Why is she running into the wall? That was really interesting. Aiden, to be fair, you are trying. Like, I know that you just restarted Final Fantasy X. So, and I believe that you will probably finish that in no time. People thought Sword and Shield were garbage. They were some of my favorites. Yeah, like, I think there's a lot of people who just do not like the more recent Pokemon games. And like, I haven't played them, but like seeing how some people are just like full on haters, and like I get pointing out maybe things like people criticizing certain things, which is like fine, but some people are just haters. It's like, if the series isn't for you anymore, then it's okay to like move on. You know what I mean? Instead of being like a hater like that. I don't know. I don't really know what to say. I just think that it's like, it's ridiculous, because I know that my daughter, she loves Pokemon, and every single Pokemon game she's played, she's had the best time. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. Our Joker runs faster than online stuff, or is it better to just run online stuff? I don't know. Kraz just kills stuff for me, so. It's something you do in the overworld and not an online thing, but I can show you how to do it off stream. Okay. I've never had a bad time playing Pokemon game, and it's not like there weren't things that I wished were different sometimes, but I'm like, is it Pokemon? Immediate W. Right. Hi, Melontic. How are you? Kingdom Hearts 2 in my mind, but also very excited for Expedition 33. Yeah, that's right. Expedition 33 is like, what, next week? I live Joker Run just for maxing out classes. You get a lot of class XP. Oh, nice. I think people just expect a lot of Pokemon because of how much money they make, and the games don't seem to get the production value of Xenoblade. I mean, but like, that's the thing, is that like, if you're not vibing with the series anymore, because I feel like it's, I don't know, I feel like it's the same people who just bitch every single time. It's like, if it's not for you, it's okay to move on. Like, it's valid. It's valid to be like, I'm not happy with it, I'm gonna move on, instead of just like being a hater. I'm enjoying 14 a lot lately. Brain wants to get back into it too. Ooh, I'm glad that you're enjoying 14 a lot. That's awesome. I need to get back into 14 too. I keep saying that and it just like does not happen. Hi Kat, how are you? I also have more bias than anyone in the world, so the whole criticize what you love does not apply to me. With that, I get defensive. Okay, Pidge, I do get that. I do get that too, and I understand. I do get it, for sure, 100%. I am very much the same way. I tend to get defensive, but I always try and tell people, like, when I do talk about something, like a series that I'm very biased about, I'm like, hey, just so you know, I do have a bias. This is like something that's really important to me, so I do have a bias. But at the same time, I do try to see other people's perspectives, as long as they're not full-on haters. You know, spring is coming when I start doing yard work. Oh, that's exciting. I want to do yard work. I don't have much work to do in the yard, but I do want to get into gardening because Mystic's inspiring me. 14 isn't going anywhere. It always feels better when you come back to it when you're in the mood for it. Yeah, that's true. No rush. I think we can do... Oh, Nocturnal Nights. Wrapped. Okay, let's see. Wait, I'm not online. Hold on. Wait, do I have to be online? Yes, I do. That... I don't know why I even asked that. That just... It doesn't make sense if I'm not online. All right, we're going to make a private squad. I suppose if anybody's interested, if they would like to join, feel free to join as well. I'm just going to be doing some the mission thingies to grind a bit. We have 3 gardens. Ooh, I had to make sure I didn't disturb the baby buns. The baby buns. I found out how much money I spent on Steam. Why would you find that information out? Out of sight, out of mind. Why would you be interested? I will never look at that because I think I will explode. Oh my god, Derek, not you being interested. Noctilum Nights. For the chaos. Okay, that's valid. You're joining in spirit? I don't even like looking at my bank app until like 3 months after my first recent purchase. It's 3 a.m. and I haven't eaten yet. You need to go eat, definitely. Wait, did I just start it? How do I leave? I fucked up. Can I leave? I'm sorry. I don't know what I can't leave, can I? Oh boy. I made a mistake. I mean, I guess It's fine. You can try to die. I'm doing okay, to be honest. It's just not gonna go as fast.
You were just lovely, princess.
Why, thank you. And you as well.
Is there flirting going on in the background there? What's happening?
Must you be so belligerent?
Who is Glimmer? Oh my god! Now I miss Glimmer. I feel like it's really loud. You forgot about Glimmer! Holy shit. Holy shit.
You're staying right here. Now weaken it. Let's see how fast.
Burn, baby. I will not be looking at how much I've spent on Steam. I feel like I'm literally going to explode if I look. Oh boy. Is that something that they just added?
They're not so tough. Aim for their body. Delivery.
Wait, you can't do this with other people? Shadow, thank you for the 100 bits. You're not getting me with that. Never forget that I am the queen of these nuts. We did it. So missions are solo. I posted a mission we can do. So once you're done, just join it. Okay, gotcha. Oh, okay. I tried, but I need to log in again. So, like, I think this is my cue to not check and live in peace instead. Oh, no. I think that's a good idea. I'm scared. I'm scared to look. Oh, wait. Join? Yeah. You're a garden again too, but we need to make it smaller. We literally could not keep up with it last year. Oh, really? I'm shutting. Hi, Maddie Vision. Welcome in. Glimmer is you. Oh, I love it. I love the name. Do I have to be the one to start? Oh, no. Okay. Welcome in. All hail our loser. Queen of these nuts. Oh my god. Cacus. Cacus? Cacus? I don't know how this is pronounced. Oops, I messed that up. Yes, Shulk, I'm staying on them. I am. Stay on them. Stay on them. Sometimes I think about how much I've spent on 14 in 7 years. I don't regret any of it, but I would not want to perceive ever. No, that's a good point too. Because I'm in the same boat. I've definitely spent a lot on 14. Like just from the subscription alone. Which, you know, now that I think about it, I don't know why that bothers me so much when I used to spend an amount playing a certain game. Oh, are they over here?
What's happening?
I don't know. What's happening? Caleb! No, like, surprisingly, I really have not spent even close to the amount on, like, the other game. Like, I mean, I guess to be fair, obviously I played the other game a lot longer than I played Love and Deep Space, but I just don't think that it's ever going to get to the point where, like, it's concerning. We did it! Yippee! It's like $200. Okay. You're into this mech suit gaming? This is so cool. Isn't it cool? Love it. So many purchases where when I get my monthly email that's like, your bank statement is ready, I'm like, no thank you, I'm not hungry. I actually have a, what do you call it? I have a budgeting app, and I do love it, but like sometimes it'll be so dramatic and be like, you overspent and blah, 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 blah. It's okay, what are you getting upset about? It's not, it's fine. Like, that was a special occasion, but then like it rolls over. So it's like, you overspent. It's just like, oh my God. I thought this had a big bad boss. Let me switch out my main skull weapon for AoE. We go, okay, no worries. Nintendo lets me check. Oh yeah. Lurky, we just wanted to let you know I got my matcha. They gave me a FOMA heart. They gave you a FOMA heart. Oh my goodness. I hope you enjoy your matcha. Ooh, now I want more matcha. I drank all my matcha, but now I want more. Right, mind your own business. It's not that big of a deal. You're being dramatic. Almost half of those $200 is 14 subs. Oh, that's right, Aiden. You pay through Steam. You were just saying. Oh my God. I'm not checking that. How many subs to look at? How many subs to look at my Steam? Stop! It would need to be like the, oh wow! Wait! You look like a magical girl! Okay, Sailor Moon.
What do you say?
So cute, so cute. Oh my God. I love the shoes.
Great.
Gator sits. The heart glass is so cute. Yeah, I've had my Steam account. Oh my God, how long have I had my Steam account? I've had my Steam account for like 15 years. Maybe like longer than that. And oh my God, another pink skill! Oh my God, we're so girly pop. Okay. When you and the squad, the Barbie squad, roll up to kill some shit.
You can all fire!
Fire and don't miss.
You want to see yours? I'm like, I love that so many of y'all are like really curious about this because now I feel like I'm being influenced, because at first I was like, I don't want to look, but now I'm like, maybe I do want to look. I want to take a screenshot. No, the mission complete got in the way. 16 years, I've spent 5,276. You know what? Honestly, though, I feel like that's not bad. Like, 16 years? Yeah.
What a blessing to keep everyone safe.
I leveled. Oh my gosh. See, now I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious about this. Okay, let me see. I probably won't share how much it is, though. If I die, just know it's because I'm embarrassed. Hang on, I'm trying to see. Wait, Shadow, where do you go again to look? Maybe you're nosy after all. I will look. Oh my god. Shadow said that you can find it somewhere in your Steam thingy, but honestly, like, I'm so, like, now I'm curious. Okay, help Steam support my account. Help Steam support. Wait, help me. My account. Where are our skulls, man? Wait, what?
True stream air. No messing around. Moving close.
Okay. Oh, I'm scared. I guess I'll let y'all kill stuff. Why can't we use our skulls? I feel naked. Melee! Oh, okay, never mind. That was pretty quick. My account. Data-related accounts. Wait, what? I don't see this. Where did... I'm confused. Where did everybody go?
You're about to see my bad side. You're about to see my bad side.
Let's do this in one shot.
Tornado blade!
Should be doing better. Dad? Ever forgive me.
Oh, okay. I was so confused. Did we? Oh, it's because we're supposed to destroy the tail. Where's the... Here it is.
Follow my lead.
Yeah.
Incendiary edge. Power dive. Flame grenade.
Zio, don't go back there, girl. Not the sound. Please, I'm begging. Don't do it. Did you get Effigy to get the Xenoblade X icons free? Just checking because it's the last day for... I did. Thank you, Charmaine. Yeah, he got them for me last night. And then he was just like, I don't see anything that's a spoiler because he hasn't finished yet either. And then he said something else. He was like, why is there two of the bad guy? And I'm like, are you spoiling stuff for me? So I have no idea, to be honest. Like, I don't think he spoiled anything for me because I didn't look, obviously.
Wait, am I still attacking the tail?
crap.
You're about to see my backside.
Okay, let me get Zio out. She's standing in front of me and I can't see. Ma'am. You're being so cute and sweet.
Come on.
And just a baby. Come on. Okay. The character I wanted did not get an icon? Really? What just happened? The fuck just happened? Did I get... Okay, that's really weird. Was it just me? Or wait. Okay, I'm making sure that my internet is still good. Because I was worried that my internet was not good. Look at my Steam. I was going to, but now out of spite, I shouldn't. I'm still upset Hayes never got an... Yeah, why did Hayes not get an icon? I mean, to be fair, I don't have any augments. Hang on. Let me see. Purchase history? Is that what I'm looking at? Load more transactions. Does it give a total or? Shopping cart history? Why is it making me sign in? Are you doing missions with viewers? Yeah, I was getting carried through stuff so I can level quicker. My vote is spite always. Hi, Zamt. How are you? External funds used. Data related to your Steam account at the bottom. External funds used, middle of account. Oh, I see. It's making me sign in! Why? Oh my god. This is annoying. Bruh, what is my password? Actually, I'm just gonna use the Steam mobile app to sign in. Fuck this. So what is total spend and then old spend and then package only spend? Are those different? I love dogs too. 1, 2, 3, Caleb. Been a stressful week so far. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. My Steam total made me feel like a fake gamer, but then I remembered I own games on other platforms too. Yeah. No. So, did anyone else see the total spend, old spend, and then package only spend? Or are those added up? Oh, wait. Okay. Total spend is what you look at? Honestly, this is not as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. Like, I thought this was going to be way worse. Like, I thought this was going to be way worse. So I've had my Steam account for 18 years, since 2006. And in 18 years, I have spent $3,135.75 in 18 years. I'm actually pretty proud of that. That's actually not too bad. Like, I thought it was gonna be way worse. Not the competition. Krez, how long have you had your Steam account? Have you had it longer than me? Since 2006? Yeah, I've been, I don't even know how I've had it for that long because, so I've had it since high school. I graduated from high school in 2007. So somehow I had a Steam account in high school, which I didn't even know Steam existed back then. I have no memory of this place. How do you check? You should have a badge on your profile. Unless you don't display it. I display it because I like displaying how long I've been someplace. Lorie has Steam as long as Sonic has been a human kisser. How long Steam has been around, but I'm also not a PC gamer. Yeah, it's been around for a long time apparently. I thought I've only had it for like 15 years, but then when I looked, yeah, it's been 18 years. I started September 12, 2006. I had the 20 years of service badge. Oh man, you beat me there too. By just a couple of years though. Whatever. Whatever. Ugh, I hate it when I lose. Okay, I'm gonna, let me see if the online is, like, working. Okay, there we go. That was really weird. I'm gonna start another private squad. So feel free to join, anyone. While I wait for people to join, though, I'm going to take a quick 5. I just need to go pee really bad. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Be right back. Okay, we're back. Hello. I also got my lunch, too. Because once again, noticing that it's 3 o'clock. So I need to eat. Maybe a kid like my nephew got home from school where he got some Easter candy before break and we got him a Lunchable and he was like, this is the best day ever in my entire life. And I was like, damn right. He's right. I think my standards are too high. Honestly, like I just feel like there is nothing better than just eating like your favorite meal, getting a little treat. Like he is right. He is absolutely right. Like he's having the best day ever. Thank you. Like, I love eating my favorite foods. Getting a little snacky. Yesterday, I made, like, the most amazing sweet treat. It sounds really basic, but it's a, oh, wait. I don't know which one it is. Thank you. It's a rice cake. It was, like, a rice cake. Like, an apple cinnamon one. And then I put, like, a little bit of peanut butter. A little bit of plain Greek yogurt. Some sliced apple, and then I melted a little bit of dark chocolate on it. Oh my god. Like what the fuck? It was so good. It was so good. And like it sounds really basic, but like I don't know. It was really good. Hi Jesse, you like this stream? I appreciate you liking the stream. Thank you for liking the stream. Nothing wrong with basic. It was like it was so good, and I have no idea, like, why? Because it wasn't anything, like, special, but it was really good. I feel like it'd even be better if you put it in the freezer for a little bit, so, like, the chocolate got, like, a little bit of crunch to it, and same with, like, the yogurt. The more accessible, the yummy is the better, actually. Yep, true. Okay, I'm eating now. Prez, what was the Nope, wrong thing. What was the name of the thingy? Oh my gosh, there's a lot of you here. Hi. Oh, you posted a mission. Okay, cool. Thank you. Does it max out at 4 players? I got some endgame builds in there. Oh, hell yeah. Honestly, I'm good with whatever. Like, this is really, like, y'all are just carrying me so I can so I can level quicker. So I appreciate everybody for helping. The hell? Oh, wait, what? Hey, Stuart. We gotta defeat Viagra. I'm sorry about this. Ooh, nice. We can have multiple missions going on at once, right? Like, it doesn't have to be just be one. I passed you. Are you still playing? Correct? Okay. Honestly, Faded, I don't know how much help that I'll be since I'm lower level than majority of you, so... But yeah, if y'all want to help Faded too, that's totally fine. I'm just, Krez can carry me. Yeah, there's a lot of people in our squad, so honestly, if y'all want to do other stuff too, it's totally fine. Krez is gonna help me by carrying me. No pressure. What's Heroic Tale? You're kind of still playing? Wait, are you playing something else now? Don't worry about the dun, dun, dun. I need to learn the lyrics to the song because, like, I'm constantly, like, singing them in my head. But I don't actually know all the lyrics. Oh, there we go. Oh, I haven't had the time. Yeah. Did you figure out stuff with work? Or is that still, like, lingering there? Good for farming normal enemies, bosses, and tyrants.
Aim for their vitals.
Oh, bosses and tyrants are immune to it. Okay, gotcha.
Fire. Don't miss.
Tornado blade. True screen edge.
Isn't it cool that you can do this in a xenoblade? It is! It is really cool. I love this. Talked to my senior manager a few times now about everything. Did you get any, like, any feedback about stuff, or is it still... Yeah, honestly, we need to have a day where we do this when I'm not streaming too. Like, just open it up in the Discord for people that need stuff. I think that would be fun. Fairly good conversation, but nothing has changed. Wait, was your senior manager is the dick, right? Or I can't remember who was the dick. That's your direct manager. Okay. You could voice chat in the Wii U version too because it had a mic. Wow, that's actually really cool. Was it only locked to your friends? Or was it like, could you do stuff with like random people? Well, no, yeah, you can do stuff with random people in here.
EM Zenith cannon. I've got the height advantage. Blast away.
Oh. Amazing. That was so fast. Switch to version for this game and they introduced the camera. Okay, but wouldn't it be really cute if like they put your head on your avatar like while you're on the camera? Or they made it so like you were inside of your skull? That would be so freaking cute. I would love that. Zenith Cannon is the strongest skull attack in the game. Is that what Kruz is using? Absurd overkill to be using your first squad missions. I think that's his right. I think it's his right that he can show it off. I have no problem with that. Because I tell you what, I would be doing the same exact thing. Like, look what I have. I'm so cool.
EM Zenith cannon. I've got the height advantage.
What's the
Blast
squad
away.
idea? Is there this is so funny. Hang on. I'll pull it up really quick. It is right here. Yeah, I'm actually gonna pin it. I mean, because I don't know if I'm gonna be. I wanted to do some more main stories today, but honestly, yesterday I was having such a hard time that I think I just need to focus on like improving my stuff and just leveling. Okay. I don't know. We'll see though. We'll see. Yeah, I was supposed to grind yesterday, like after stream, but I lost track of time. I was watching anime. I was watching anime. Oopsies. Chapter 11 is funny because the game is like, here's an actual normal dungeon. Yeah, I mean, and you can't use your skull, so I'm like suffering in there. I feel like I've been spoiled by my skull. I'm just gonna take a quick bite of my food. Maybe I can get a hit in after I take a bite. Hang on.
EM Zenith cannon! I've got the height advantage! Blast away!
That is so funny. I'm not complaining because I'm actually able to eat my lunch.
What never hurts to get a little stronger.
Oh my god, I've gotten like what, like 2 levels? 3 levels? This is amazing. No, you know? Wait, now I know? You've been doing affinity quests? There are really 2 worlds in this game. Either you figure out infinite overdrive, and the only things that are ever challenging again are skull only fights, or you don't and you struggle hard. Yeah, it's all good. I mean, I will get there. I think the biggest thing is that I personally like being over leveled in my RPGs, and I am not over leveled for this, so. Still getting Raise Affinity up? Oh, that's good. Yeah, I do like the affinity quests a lot. I've actually, I've been trying to keep up with them, although I have a lot that opened up that I haven't done yet. So one of these days, I'm just going to focus on affinity quests again, like I did for another stream. See, when I see Sando, that just makes me hungry. I mean, I'm eating, but it makes me hungry. I'm just thinking of like a katsu Sando or an egg Sando. It is a Monado hair clip, yeah. I thought it was slang for Santa. I don't know. I think it's in Japanese. They call sandwiches sando. Is that so? I don't know if that's actually Japanese for sandwich, but yeah, I don't know. Wait a minute. Where is the next? Man, it is so cool to see all of us flying. Like, the multiplayer in this game is so cool. But like, oh wait, we're waiting for the busy gel. Are you go for Tamago Sando? Sando or Sandoichi? I love it. Oh, okay.
Let's make this quick. Cover fire. Attack at range. Follow my lead.
I know I'm ready to shine.
So deliver fire and don't halt.
Okay, but I love the names of our skells, because you have mine, which is Caleb, and then Valeria, and then there was one that was Aries something, and then Mastema White Reaper. Like, I know that's the name of the actual skell, but like, it's really funny seeing the names like this.
Moving close.
Burn, baby. Phoenix win.
Have some more.
Have some more. Ooh, 49.
I've got the height advantage. Blast away.
Oh my god, that damage was wild. Yay! I like how you can toggle the flight music now. Yeah. Apparently, Sando was also a type of muscle tank. You're googling pictures. Yeah, the fruit Sandos. Oh man. I mean, you can make them at home, but the ones in Japan are so. I just want to like. I just want to bite. Like, I just want to eat. So bad. Sandoichi is your full name, but I shorten it. Oh my god, your real name is Sandoichi? I'm kidding, I know that's not your real name. Or is it? Can you imagine? This is my son, his name is Sandwich. You was Sando in Australia? Oh, that's cool. I did not know that about Australia. Sando and Sangar means sandwich? Ooh. I want to go to Japan, but I need to save $5 million first because I want to buy one of everything at the Pokemon Center in Tokyo. There's also the Pokemon cafes too there that open up, right? You would be thriving like so much in Japan, Pidge. Absolutely. I think my favorite like Japanese sandwich is the egg sandos. Oh my god. I made one at home, and my favorite thing. But I love eggs. That's why I'm not thriving in this environment right now where eggs are extremely expensive. Xenoblade Cafe won though, right? I agree.
Phoenix wing.
I remember when Prez went to Japan, and he wasn't a Xenoblade fan yet. He hadn't played the Xenoblade series yet. But I was just like, if you see any Xenoblade, get me something. And apparently there wasn't like a whole lot. Egg salad sandwiches are amazing. They are. That's my son. His name is Sandwich. Prepare to feast. We'll be in Japan for a Bit Summit during the hottest fucking time of the year. Oh no. And I'm bringing a half-empty suitcase with a happy smuggle things for others. Yeah, I haven't had a chance. I haven't had a chance to go to Japan yet, but it is literally like the tippy top of my bucket list to go. Like, I think that I'll cry every single day that I'm there. Like, it's something that I've wanted to do since I was like, I was very small, is go to Japan. And I fear that when I do go, it's over for me. Like, I'm going to be broke. Broke. Is this the Xenoblade? Sends a photo of a Monado acrylic. Isn't it wild? You weren't a Xenoblade fan then. Like, the difference, if you had gone after you had experienced the Xenoblade series, you would have been like an expert. You went to the Eorzea Cafe? Oh my god. I heard it was great. Although someone I know that went recently said the food isn't as good as it used to be, which is sad. I would have gone to the Square Enix Cafe and loudly complained about the lack of Xenogears merch. You guys did go to the, you went to a Square Enix shop, right, while you were there? Because I remember I got Square Enix stuff. They probably had no Xenogears stuff there. That's right, my fat cat hoodie! It is my prized possession. If my house were ever on fire, I would be grabbing my fat cat hoodie. Thank you, Dueler! I think I've heard a lot of themed cafes are underwhelming as far as actual taste and stuff, but I think the gimmick is the main point. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it's literally just about the vibes. Like, just walking in there and experiencing stuff and then seeing all the cute food, but, like, don't expect anything, like, gourmet from the taste, I guess. Xenoblade has not enough merch. Like, the biggest amount of official Xenoblade merch pretty much was the sticker, desk map, and keychain we got in the Xenoblade X. Oh, yeah, I noticed that. When I started getting into the series, I was really upset because there's really not a whole lot of Xenoblade merch. Thankfully, we have really gorgeous figures. I love that. I love that the figures are incredible, but other than that, we do not have a ton. Hey, Seven, I would give up on Square doing any Xeno stuff. I mean, Takahashi is right there making you stuff. Yeah, that's the thing is, I think I've mentioned before, like, I'd be kind of nervous if Square started doing anything with Xenogears. Be a little nervous about that, that's for sure. It's made out of paper mache. If you give me a slice of cake shaped like a Pokemon, I'll go insane. No, I get that, because that's what happened to me when I picked up my Gooner cake. My Gooner cake tasted really good, thankfully, but even if it tasted like shit, I would have been like, look at my cake! Man, out of context, that goes crazy. I went to the Yorzy Cafe a while ago as well, many years before I was a 14 fan, so I didn't appreciate it that much, but remember the food being better than that. Oh, yeah. It's still a cute cafe, though? Yeah. Yeah, I would just go for the vibes, and then I would get, like, because they have different, like, themed job, like, foods, right? Or drinks or something? I think it would be a vehicle for model kits, no problem. Oh, for Xenoblade? Yeah, there are a couple of model kits. I don't want to think about the 14 figures. Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Xenoblade merch, I just got mine all set up again after moving. Oh, hell yeah! All your figures and stuff? Because you have, like, you have a lot of merch, I think. Right, Charmaine?
Yeah. Look up on the circle up there.
Burn, baby.
You're my
Waiting for me. Oh my god, what month is Mio coming out? I'm so excited for her. Oh my god, she's beautiful.
The hell?
Burn, baby. Fire.
Let's do this in one go. Let's finish this. Who's with me? I won't miss this chance.
I think I have figures. Do I have anything coming out this
I'll
month?
take them with my
I don't think so. I'll have to look.
Burn, baby.
It's on. Close the distance.
Fire. Don't miss.
I won't miss this chance. What's happening?
What's happening? I don't know why, but I love it when he says that. What's happening?
No messing around.
Like, it sounds really dramatic.
Why be pushed back? I got her a cannon.
Square Enix do you seem to be acknowledging Xenogears a bit more lately, at least? Whether that's going to lead to more than just expensive merch like the $400. What? Excuse me, there's a $400 wristwatch? I also have beef with Square still milking Xenogears franchise. Like, they still make those not even painted, far too expensive build kits of Xenogears merch. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I saw that.
More.
Just after... Oh, wait, that was Murderous being weird. Went just after Dawn Trail got released, so I got the Picto. The Picto drink! Cosmic Exploration is next week. Maybe next week is when I get back into 14. They give you little colored syrup vials. Oh my god. It's so fucking cute. I have the Siren model kit. You're too scared to build it. That's like when I got, was it Mithra? I think it's Mithra. My Mithra figure, because I had read that a lot of people had problems with like putting the Aegis sword in, because it's like, I don't know, it's like really, it's really weird. And I was afraid that I was gonna break it, so I made Effigy do it for me, because I was like, if he breaks it, then it's like he did it and not me, so I won't feel as bad, and then he'll have to buy me a new one. You bought better shelves? Oh, that's nice. Mio, Mio, Mio. Good smile. Haven't announced the month yet. Oh, that's weird, huh? Posture check. Thank you for the posture check. I was shrimping.
Follow my lead.
I get to hear my song.
Stay on them. No messing around. Moving close.
Burn, baby. Fire. Don't miss.
I won't miss this chance.
I'm actually farming for XP.
You're freaking out. Look, top of them with gunfire.
I'm trying to like over level.
Phoenix Wing! Burn, baby! Fire! Don't miss!
But I think other people in the squad are doing other stuff.
Aim for their vitals.
Xenogear watches. Oh my god. Xenogears have a couple of model kits, but they are so expensive. According to my Amion Rumi, it's supposed to... What? Mio's coming next month? Oh my god. I love it. Mio May.
What a blessing.
Some of these emotes are like off-brand 14 emotes. I can't remember. 14 was out by the time Xenoblade X was out, right? The original? Glimmer is Maddie. I know I'm in a Xeno mood when I finish this game and I want to start another playthrough. Yes. I feel that. That's how I am, or how I was with Xenoblade 3. I was like, what if I replayed everything again? Mio May. Mio Mai, stop it. Oh, I can do it. I forget what it was called. Was it Parasites? It was in Sylvalum. Maybe it was Parasites, because this one's level 44. Oh no. It wasn't? Oh, well, shit. Shit. The other Sylvalum, I messed up. There are people actually hoping for Square to milk the Xenogears franchise and also make it Sony exclusives. I was like, oh, they're better Xenoblade, and I just have so many thoughts on those people. I've seen that, honestly. I've seen people say that about Xenogears. That, like, people don't... And, like, people can do whatever they want. It's whatever. But I have seen people say that they don't like the Xenoblade series as much as they like Xenogears. But yeah, like that would, I don't think I would really love it if they started doing stuff without the creator of the series. I wouldn't be a fan of that. Mio March, Mio Mapril, Mio Mapril and Mio May, yes. Mio every month. I support that. Mio deserves every month of the year.
Phoenix Wing!
First, let's bolster our offense.
Phoenix Wing! Stay sharp! We got a new target and fire!
Ooh, who has the deep voice? Making me feel some type of way.
Burn the fire! Don't miss!
I won't miss this chance.
Just this! Cut him down! Phoenix Wing!
A Realm Reborn came out in 2013 and the original 14 came out in 2010. Oh, okay. And when was Xenoblade X was 2014? Wait, no, 2015, right?
Burn the fire! Don't miss!
Same year as Heaven's Word. Oh.
Follow my lead! Close the distance and take control!
I feel like I have... Okay, there we go. I had like an eyelash in my eye.
No escape!
Phoenix Wing! Burn, baby!
2013, 2025. It's been a while.
Fire! And don't miss! Phoenix Wing! Burn, baby!
I won't
Phoenix
miss
Wing!
this chance.
Just hate how much of that... Ooh, jeez. Of that seemingly is also still just console war people going at it. Like, so many of them love to say Xenoblade flops on Nintendo. They should be sold to Sony. Like, you all see how well Final Fantasy does on PS5, while Nintendo actually praised Xenoblade as one of their... Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I have I have seen that from people, and it is really weird to me because I feel like, I mean, Xenoblade is the series that Takahashi like is allowed to do. Like, I mean, it's his baby, and it's just like, I mean, Xenogears is his baby too, but a lot of from what I've heard, I haven't played Xenogears yet, but from what I've heard, a lot of the same themes and things are in the Xenoblade series as Xenogears. I don't know about the combat. I don't know, but it just, I don't know, it's just a weird thing to me for people to be that way. Like I said, if they prefer Xenogears over Xenoblade, I guess that's one thing, but I've definitely seen like vitriol, which I don't really get. Okay, giant beast strikes. Faded. Xeno as a whole is Takahashi's life. Yeah, I am. I've actually, so I haven't like officially announced it yet, but I am actually playing Xenogears after Xenoblade X. That is the next playthrough. Don't you have Saga? I do. I have the Saga trilogy, but I want to play Xenosaga this year, but I'm gonna play Xenogears next. See, the funny thing is that according to them, Final Fantasy is not doing well on PS5, which is why they said they're no longer doing exclusivity. Yeah. Switch is more popular than anything in Japan. I'd imagine not being on Switch hurt Final Fantasy series a lot. Yeah, and that's why they're trying to do, they're trying to have a better relationship with Nintendo, because if anyone knows the Squaresoft Nintendo beef from back in the day, like Nintendo and Squaresoft used to have some beef. Like it was wild. I should hop off squad and go back to work stuff and lurk. No worries, Maddie. Thank you so much for hanging out with the squad. I appreciate it. Everyone who is carrying me here. Thank you. Okay. Xeno pills. I will also play Saga this year, finally. Hell yeah. I love Xenogears. It is very important to me. I'm excited to play it. However, Aiden did say that he is putting together a document of trigger warnings. So I'm like, oh boy. We shall see. We shall see how I feel afterwards. Japanese people often commute like 2 to 3 hours to work, so they strongly value portable systems. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't. Oops, what am I doing? Oh. Wait, what's this one? Does someone have Zenith on the squad? I don't know. Person's on her way over for our date. Also gonna also dip. No worries, Zand. Have a good one. Enjoy. Much of the hate seemingly is also about Takahashi using all the ideas he had for like the 5 canceled Xenogears sequels instead. Now in Xenoblade, and those seemingly think Takahashi should not have done that and just let Square use those ideas. Like, I saw people blame Takahashi making Xeno games as the reason Square has not done more Xenogears. Like, what the hell? That is very weird thinking to me. He's the creator. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of like what Aiden was talking about with Disco Elysium. It's just like, I don't get why anyone would support a creation without the creator. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird to me because it's obviously not going to be the same. And it just feels like disrespectful. Especially knowing, like, knowing the tea, too.
I ran out of fuel.
Oh, what? I did? Shit. I gotta refuel. Anti-Art Pro Corporation. It's really weird to me. I don't know. I just don't like that line of thinking. Like, I guess if some people don't know, like, what happened, with Xenogears and Square, but, like, I feel like if you're, I don't know, if you're a fan, then maybe you know. I don't know. Do I not have... Okay, there we go. Thank you, Proxo! I'm once in a rabbit hole of Square fans obsessed still with Xenogears, but seemingly hating on Xenoblade, and so much of it just strikes me at weird anti-creator. Yeah, that's kind of what it feels. Like, that's what it feels like. It's very strange to me. Like, I'm not really a fan of that. Again, if they prefer, like, the gameplay or something for Xenogears over Xenoblade, then it's whatever. But if, like, they're saying certain things, like Square should continue with it and stuff like that, then I guess I don't understand that, because they don't have the creator on board. So it's good if Square just leaves it dead. Leave it alone or give it to Takahashi. Like, I don't know. And like, I'm not even hating on Square, because obviously I love Square Enix. But it just, I don't know. I just don't like the idea of carrying on with something that isn't technically like your creation. Like, I get that they own it, but they're not going to have the person on board who created all the ideas. So, Zaum is doing a spiritual successor to Disco Elysium without any of the original creators. I have no interest in it. I don't see the point in playing a game published under a corporation that just wants to milk the name of a reputable franchise. You get the art that you love because of the people behind it. It doesn't just manifest out of thin air. Exactly. Yeah, well, like, I feel like that's just a thing. Like, I think that's a thing with a lot of franchises. I mean, fans being divided among the games, because that's just a thing. Look at the Final Fantasy fan base. Like, there's constantly fucking fighting in the Final Fantasy fan base about the series. Like, which one's the best, which one's not the best, the combat system. Like, there's constant fighting. So I feel like it just happens in any series. Oh my god, somebody's Skell is named Goober. How cute. I love that. Once again, this group of Skells is hilarious. Ares Prime, and then we have Caleb, and then we have Goober. Hello?
Guess what? I walked home with somebody today.
Who?
I don't know, a friend that I made like near the beginning of the year.
Oh.
I only got her phone number today, and we realized that we live in the same neighborhood, so we walked home together.
Cool. Yeah, you should send her a text.
What a blessing to keep everyone safe.
Cool. I love Xenogears, but I'm glad Takahashi moved on. If he didn't do that, we wouldn't have Xenoblade X. Yes. Which characters do I have unlocked? Wait, I can't. Oh, here we go. I'm missing quite a few, actually. Yeah, these are the ones. I miss playing Final Fantasy games and being blissfully unaware of how weird people can be in the community for it. Yes, I feel like that's the way to be honest. It's just, I don't know. Especially the shipping. Like, the shipping is what takes me out. Like, what are we going through here? Like, why are we fighting about ships like this? Just happy of how much of that one big book of Xenogears sequels ideas Takahashi already used in the Saga and Blade games, because my biggest fear is still Square saying thanks for making a plan for 5 more games. How about we use it all? Yes. Yeah, I think that's great too. It just feels like, it feels spiteful to me. Like, I'm going to put all of my ideas in my own games. And yeah, just fit everything in. I especially feel like Future Redeemed is like was that DLC too, where he was like, I'm gonna put everything in here. Look what I can do.
Actually, how... Let me see if...
Okay, whoa, holy crap. I started at like level 42, I think. Wasn't I level 42 when I started or no? I think it was 44. I don't know. I've gained a lot of levels. This is really nice. So I think I'm gonna actually try to do the main story now for a little bit and see how I fare. If things are still bad, then I'll figure it out. Upgrade my weapons. Hold on. I should look at my weapons too. Takahashi gets to make what he wants now. Same. Hi, Chas. Thank you. I appreciate that. Level 45 armor. I'm only 44, so I can wait. No, I'm 47. Bonk's head. Okay, so question. So I'm upgrading my armor. What am I supposed to be looking at? Like, I look at the defense, but should I be focusing on like more resistances or what? Like, I don't get it. I guess there's the additional effects too. But like, yeah, I would buy this right now because the defense is the highest out of all of them. But I think I read the resistances are more important. Oh, really? Also, Zamped, I thought you were leaving. Defense isn't really that good in X, sadly. It's a flat damage reduction based on your defense. E.g. 500 damage with 50 defense is still... Oh. Okay, so resistances are better, so I should prioritize, like, more resistances, I guess? Is there a way to... I guess there isn't. You can only do it by defense. She isn't here yet? Oh, okay. It's more about the resistance and effects and augment slots? Okay. Resistance is more effective. Okay. We will figure out the best of both worlds or something. I don't know. Like, I wonder if I should... like, that's a thing, too. Should I be prioritizing, like, physical resistance? Probably not. Hi, Saligio! Xenoblading is going very well. How are you? All armor gives a net of 0 resistance, generally plus 20 in one category. I have 20 in gravity, so with resistance, it's partially a matter of figuring out what attributes the enemy uses. I don't know what the fuck the enemy's using. All I know is they're hurting me. It's a lot of physical and beam damage. Okay, cool. Thank you. Then... So if it's saying... So like for this one, the beam resistance is 0 and then like an up arrow. So... I'm confused about that. I don't understand. Oh, I had negative... Okay, I gotcha. Check class 2. I forgot about that. But like I can use. Actually, wait, what? You can use all of it, right? Like even if you have a different class? I'm confused. Like I'm thinking about getting this one. I'm gonna do it. Fuck it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought it wasn't class restricted. You were having lunch? What were you having? Maybe I'll get this one with ether resistance too. You just focus on making augments? Yeah, because some of the stats are a little bit confusing for me. But the augments are pretty much just like kind of like gems or like materia. Or not. They're like gems? Okay. Okay, but I look like a freaking Power Ranger. I love it. All right, this is what we got going on for now. What is TP gain rating? Just like I got distracted. So when it comes to weapons, is it the same thing? Like does power is power rating something that I should be looking at? Oh, 100% damage reduction. Okay. TP gain rating is just auto attacks. Okay. Power rating is a nonsense stat. I was eating chicken with mole. Don't know if you know. I do know what mole is. Oh, it's so good. I love Mexican food. Attack value and additional effects are the most important for weapons. Okay, attack value and additional effects. Attack value. Attack value. Attack value and additional effects. Ranged accuracy. Aww. Really need to have chicken mole again. Gotta find a place here that has it. Why don't you try making it? I think you should try making it. Mole fucks? It does. It does. But you know what's really frustrating is in Florida, there are not a lot of really good, like, authentic Mexican places. And I used to live in San Antonio, and authentic Mexican food was everywhere. It was so nice. But now living in Florida, it's like nowhere to be found. You have to really dig. That important for ground weapons. Art hit scaling is the bigger and more important number for determining damage. Oh, it's the reverse for scale weapons. Okay. Scratch his head. That's good. Attack value plus range. Minute attack. That's good. Okay. We don't make it that far. Stop it. Stop. Melee beam resistance down. I thought that said thyroid. Thyroid criticals up. That is, it's not what that says. All right, I don't know if this this works. I don't think I'm gonna do the same thing with everybody else. I think I'm gonna just leave it as it is. Maybe if things are still really shitty, then I'll upgrade everybody else. But as of right now, I don't care. We're gonna try it as is and see what happens. Damage hit scaling, melee range, potential damage plus weapon attack. If it's shitty, just hire us into your squad. Oh no, I mean like shitty as in having to Are you telling me that I didn't even have to go through all of that? What is going on? I was fighting for my life yesterday, and I did all of this.
Somehow I knew something like this was going to happen.
The clock's ticking. Take it down quickly.
Are you fucking kidding me? What is going on? Why did that?
You and me.
I mean, I guess it would have been backseating if someone had told me, but I had no idea. Oh my god. You need to go through all that. Girl, what's happening? I don't know. But it's actually so funny, but also not. I was fighting for my life yesterday, and apparently I just had to teleport somewhere. Recently activated a region teleport spot. You should have not had been in. Wait, what? How did I do that? What? Oh, that's hilarious. Did I bug the game? I guess? I don't even know. I'm so confused. Oh my god. I'm dying. I don't know how I managed to do that. That is... Oh no! Oh shit.
Thanks. I'll make it up to you. Flame grenade! Now we can. Lightning blade! Gravity punch! Vented spin! Yes! Now melee attack!
Here we go again with Murderous though. Like, I don't know what's going on over there, but she just does not die.
Lightning blade!
Somebody patch me up!
Looks like I'm on my own again.
But never mind. Never mind. I spoke too soon.
Lightning blade!
This is so scuffed. Like, this is really scuffed. Oh my god. But it's fine. We're doing it.
What do you think it is?
Part of a machine?
Silly friends, it obviously keyed to big door from before.
I actually think he's right.
Okay. Wow. This way we can ride our skells in.
Exactly.
You know what? You know what? I was just thinking that maybe I unlocked that when I was, do y'all remember yesterday I was running through the building like a dumbass? I'm like, if I just run through everything, and then I died in the middle of the area, so maybe that's what happened. Maybe it's because I ran through and I unknowingly like unlocked the teleports. The levels will help. Yeah. Oh, wait, I unlocked it through the roof? Iconic, I fear. I don't get it, but I'm not complaining, Rex. Whole training arc just for the game to let you walk in. Like, that's so sad, yet so funny. Like, oh my god. You battled so close to the wall for so long, the game mistook it as you being behind the wall. Oh, I'm dead. Oh my god. I'm catching up. Oh, when she has astral protection up. Oh, my party's frail. I see. You probably have authentic Cuban food, which I've never had or seen. You've never seen authentic Cuban food? Oh, that's so sad. Yeah, we do. We have a lot of really good Cuban food. I tried making Cuban food once, and then my Cuban friend said it's not that good. I was like, I'm sorry, I tried. Can I not? We love honest friends. No, we don't. And then proceeded to steal your ladder. I literally die if that happened to me. Wait, if someone said that your food wasn't good? To be fair, I don't think he actually said that my food was bad. He just said that it was missing raisins. And I'm like, I'm sorry, my family doesn't like raisins. They are anti raisins in my household, even though I like raisins. What, wasn't I supposed to be able to get my skell? I think I went the wrong way. Not the lying. Wait, did you did you not say that? Am I writing fan fiction again? Damn, okay. Never mind, I'm making shit up. Spreading propaganda. Me attacking Krez's character after he just spent like an hour helping me level. Hi, Lorie. Every day we add more letters to the Discord acronym. Another L for lies. So, lying loser MILF queen of these nuts. I'll have to update that later. Came out of Lurk for Cuban food talk? Yeah. Maury, do you miss the Cuban food? I'm still mourning that we never got a chance to meet. I did, in fact, forget my skull. Oopsies. How would you rate your cooking skills overall, though? I mean, not to brag. I'm not really a bragger, but I do think that my cooking is pretty good. I was born into a family of home chefs, so it was very, very important for me to learn. I need the people in chat who've eaten my food to vouch for me. No one's vouching for me. It's making me worried. Am I supposed to... Hang on. Okay. I vouch for you, Aiden. Stop it. Oh my god. You gotta figure out dinner. I forgot to plan that today. Oh no! I hope that you can figure something out. If all else fails, mac and cheese. There's no good Latin food in Seattle.
Expected no less.
That honestly,
LA's
that
number
surprises
1
me.
team.
Oh, do we have to fight Lao?
Lao!
The Ganglion really are afraid, you know. Even Luxar, their leader, trembles at the idea we might get our bodies back. That's why he had me stick around here, to keep you out of his tendrils.
Ew.
You knew we had no choice.
He really does have tendrils,
we had
too.
to chase after that stolen data terminal.
None of this will matter soon. Once they destroy the Lifehold core and all of us with it, this'll all be over.
You don't sound so excited anymore.
Of course I'm excited. Why wouldn't I be? We can finally stop living this goddamn lie. We'll all be free at last.
We'll all be dead, Lao. How does that free anyone? Instead of reuniting with our real flesh and blood?
Wrong. We're already dead, Lynn. Our flesh and blood burned away with the earth.
That's kind of what I figured. Oh, his eyes are kind of pretty.
Listen, Lao, we don't have time for a debate here. We came here for that terminal, and we're taking it back with us, whether you like it or not.
Of course. You wouldn't want to hear this, would you? Or have them hear it. Fair enough.
Oh no! Oh no, his eyes are really pretty. Aiden, I get you. Like, all of a sudden, like, he's hotter.
Let's go.
I don't like that I have to fight him.
Attack it right there! Follow my lead! I'll put this on! Fire! Don't miss! Try this
It's that
on.
tormented aura he's got about him. It's that, like, yeah, like, he's so broken, and
Delivery!
I love when a fictional man is just broken beyond belief.
Delivery! There, you ready for this? Just this! Just this! Special delivery! Now weaken it! Just this! The enemy's off guard. Use range.
I am. I'm using ranged attacks.
Try this on. Delivery. Lay on alert. Let's see how fast.
Like, I feel really bad. I do feel really bad that he's going through it right now. But I mean, yeah, like, I don't...
This is wrong. Humanity should have died out along with the
That's
Earth.
wild. I literally said that
Should have
he
let
thinks that we
nature
should just
take
be
its
gone.
course and accepted our fate.
You don't believe that, Lao.
If you did, you would have never volunteered to work on Project Exodus in the first place. Or on the White Whale's crew.
Well, I was a believer once. I honestly thought we could pull it off. I knew we couldn't save everyone, of course. Billions of people in that time frame. But a cross-section of races, religions? Yes, it felt like all the usual politics disappeared. People from different countries had to come together. There was no other choice. This was survival. So I signed up.
So what happened?
It was all lies. If you weren't rich, or connected, or part of the first world elite, you got left to die on Earth.
What?
He might be my...
Oh, yes.
He might be one of my favorite characters.
The only reason people like you and me got on board the White Whale is because they could use our skills, exploit our talents. But everyone else, all those countless souls boxed up in your precious Lifehold core, the same elitist bastards that decided they're the only part of humanity worth saving.
No.
If you don't believe me, ask Elma.
I can't say I agreed with how all the passengers were
Oh
chosen.
no, I knew
I
it!
hardly see how it justifies this madness. We were acting to save the human race. I never understood why humans separate themselves off. By race, by class, religion, country, age. As if it matters in the end. On a genetic level, the differences are insignificant.
No, not insignificant. Not to humans, but really, how could you understand, Elma? Sorry, but I won't let those bastards purge what made us human.
Damn.
Kill us all first.
Oh my god.
Lau, look. I admit I had no idea about any of this. But killing what's left of us isn't
Are we
going
supposed to be
solve
siding with
anything.
Lau?
It's you playing God instead of them.
Okay, yeah.
How is
Oh, this
that
is
fair?
I'm conflicted.
Don't talk to me about fair. Is it fair what happened to my wife and little girl?
No!
That's why I volunteered. I didn't sign up for Project Exodus because I wanted to save the human race. No. I signed up for Project Exodus because I wanted to save my family. We knew there were no guarantees we'd be chosen, of course. We promised each other we'd accept our fate either way. But at least, this way, we had a chance. We had something to hope for. Hope was all we asked for. But there was never
Hope
any
standing
hope.
right there.
Not really. The decision was already made. We just didn't know it yet. These scum deserve to die, Elma.
No one deserves to die, Lau.
Tell that to Charmaine and Chenchi. Tell it to everyone we left back on Earth. And you knew they'd seal the fate of all those people. And then you lied. You lied about why no one could know who made it onto this ship until after launch.
Elma?
The decision came down to saving a subset of humanity or total
Oh
extinction.
my
I
god.
stand by that decision.
Elma?
And I'd do it again. Enough talk. I don't expect you to agree with every decision that was made in the past. But I won't let you destroy humanity's future.
Fair enough. I don't expect you to agree either. But that won't stop me.
I'm so conflicted right now because I'm actually like with Lau, I'm like, you know what? You preach, okay? Because yes, like I feel like this would be such a dilemma. Like this would be a thing in real life. Like who would be getting saved first? Like we already see it, right? Fucking rich people. And the way that he feels is like so valid. Like he's just fucking over it. However, yeah, like I feel like it's, oh my god, this is so interesting. Hold on a minute. Why is he invincible?
Try this on. Delivery. Try this on.
Here comes the fierce one.
Fury blast. Touch this! Try this on! Touch! Touch this! Burn, baby! Phoenix wins!
Oh my god. Wait, is he immune to... Once again, this is so scum. I'm so dead.
Now melee attack. Cut him down. Try this on.
That doesn't mess with rock companies. Who do you think will get chosen first? Exactly. Exactly. And now I'm just wondering here what's going on with Elma, because what do you mean Elma knew about this and she's like, it's fine. Like, I would do it again to save humanity. It's just like, okay, no. I don't,
Hope you're ready for this. Let's see how fast. Now weaken it.
Okay, we're good now.
Touch this. Touch this. Special delivery.
Rich people being saved first also explains why so many bigots. No, that makes so much sense. That makes a lot of sense why everybody in New LA is very fucking questionable. I mean, obviously there's some good people, but like, yeah, like they really built the world with that to show us that something was not right with some of these people. Making my skull lay in a fetal position, pretending I'm not letting him win.
Let's see how fast. Now delivery.
Aiming to your range.
Try this on.
Hi, easy peasy, welcome in.
Touch this.
I've been great. How are you?
Delivery.
All the rich bigots and the racist scammers ending up here. Well, get out of this. Get out of this skull. You're so right. No, he is. He's so right. And like, I'm actually kind of upset about like Elma knowing this, and then also like her being out here talking about wanting to preserve the indigenous species here. It's just like, what are you fucking expecting from a bunch of bigots that you brought with you? They're not gonna give a shit. Like, a lot of people who are trying to preserve the humanity are really, really selfish.
No more fighting, Lau, and no more excuses. The day
Girl.
Go ahead, Elma. Go ahead and shoot, if you're so sure of yourself. Just don't hit the terminal. So, what's it gonna be? The chest or the head? You've got a 50-50 chance. The fate of all humanity hanging in the balance. Gotta love those odds. So, what are you waiting for?
No, Elma, not like this.
Step aside, Lynn. If I can shut down his MIM, there's still a good chance we can extract the data afterwards.
No, damn it, that's not even the point. We're all on the same side here.
You.
You too?
Thank you. Elma, listen. I understand Lau's anger. I lost my family to an accident a long time ago. But If someone promised me a chance of saving them, and that was all a self-serving lie, who knows what I would do?
Lily.
It's disturbing, and corrupt, and disgusting, and yet, that's exactly what makes us human. Maybe we really should have been wiped out of existence. But then...
The data terminal.
I'm gonna start crying. Oh my god.
I'm abandoning my little crusade. Guess I'm just as corrupt as anyone else.
Lao,
I changed my mind.
changed your mind.
I thought this was about them, but somewhere along the way, it became about me. And about revenge.
It's over now.
So go. The Lifehold core has built-in auto defenses. It'll take them some time to destroy it. If you hurry, you might still make it in time.
He's right, there's no time to lose. Lynn, can you finish the analysis here?
It's technically possible, but without the full NLA mainframe working on it, it would take way too much time.
Then we have no choice. Let's get back to the city ASAP.
Lao too. Come back with us to New LA.
Yeah, right. As if I could ever set foot inside that city again.
It won't be like that. Not once everyone knows the facts, at least. They might not agree, but they will understand.
You're naive, Lynn. They lock me up and toss away the key. Or worse, a lot worse.
Maybe, but that's on you. You have a lot to answer to. So either way, we're taking you back with us.
I'd rather be shot.
Come on, Lao. Let's go home.
Fine, whatever. But there's no time to evac me. You go ahead.
But that's... Elma.
He's right, Lynn. Time is running out. We need to move, and fast.
All right, then. Lao, we'll send some medics for you, okay? Just stay put. Until then, you're not allowed
Why
to
am I
die,
getting
you
a
hear
really
me?
bad feeling?
I'll see you back in New LA.
Sure. Great, you got it. Now would you go already?
Okay.
Tatsu will split special lunchbox with Lao.
Oh my god.
Because Lindley says Lao not allowed to die.
Why is this making me cry?
So Lao stay alive for Lindley or else. Or else Tatsu kill.
Oh my god.
Not allowed to die. Of course I'm not. Even if I killed myself, I'd just wake up in a new Mim anyway. Charmaine, Chenchi, I'm so sorry, girls.
What the fuck?
Seems like Papa can't come to be with you just yet. Damn it.
I'm going through it.
I'm sorry. You watch over each other until I
Oh my god. Oh my god, sorry, I'm like going through it right now. Oh my god, I feel like just Lynn's speech, like, I started like going through it then because she's just 13 and how is she so wise and she just knows everything and she's like, I need tissues. Oh my god. I've never felt more proud to be wearing her hairpin right now. Oh man. Lao and Lin both being heavily Chinese coded, last name with Huang, and Li Ku, and Lao having lost his daughter. Yeah, not the pop, I'm gonna throw up. Made me sad back in the OG version. That was a really, really, really good scene. It was fine until now. The way this is what is giving me a mental breakdown with Tatsu sharing his, yes. Oh, you're too young for this. See, very black and white. Some people live or everyone dies, but at least she agrees the choosing was wrong. Yeah, and that's what's really frustrating, right? Is that like it like she did see it very black and white, and like that's not how that works, because yes, you're preserving humanity, but you're preserving some of the worst fucking people. Thought it was weird having shops in New LA when I'm like, bro, there's literally a handful of us here trying to make sure humanity scrapes by, and you want me to buy a skull to save you, right? That was an example of a man who has nothing else to lose. Yeah. That made me love Lao so much more. Like, we finally understand why Bose is around. Yeah. Like, it honestly, so much of the world building in this game through like the quests, like the world quests and the affinity missions and stuff, like it all makes so much sense. Like, I feel like if you haven't done any of that up until now, like, I don't think it would hit as hard, because then you're like thinking about everything that you've come across. Like, oh my god, yeah, we are preserving like some of the worst people like possible, and like how the fuck did they get here? Well, there you go. Fight all the Tatsu haters. I can't believe that there are people who hate Tatsu. Why there are nice people in New LA is because they have talents to be exploited. Yeah, I guess that's so hard to accept, is that if this happened in real life, it would go like this. And I cannot help but empathize so deeply with Lao, because yeah, fuck everything if this is how it's gonna go. Obviously not the right approach, but you can understand it. Exactly. And like, it's hitting even harder like in the year 2025, because that's what it's starting to look like. That's literally it looks like that right now. And like, the fact that this game came out when politics were normal, for the most part, and then now this game is here, like it's aged really well, unfortunately. It's aged a little too well, and it's like it's hitting a little hard. It's hitting a little hard because we already know that this is exactly how it would probably go in real life. The world ends, and of course the richest, most privileged people would be the first to be saved. Or if you have skills that are exploitable, absolutely. I'm going through it now. Oh my god, this is good soup. Friggin' SpaceX probably built the white whale. I'm saying, like, what the fuck? It also explains why capitalism is so heavily already integrated in New LA, like all the weapon manufacturing bosses being around. Yes, even though we've only been here for like a few months. People find him annoying. Well, I find them annoying. Thoughts on the story, Lorie? I know most people would say exploration takes forefront in this game. See, you know, it's interesting to me because I really cannot fathom why people say that the story in this game is mid. Because in my opinion, it's absolutely not. I think this has been so interesting, but I do think that the main story is made better by doing the affinity quests and doing the world quests, because then you're getting all of the world building. And then like this chapter here, like I feel like doing all of that just made it make more sense and made it hit harder, because you've seen some of the horrible people in New LA and the bigotry and just the way that they treat like the other what do you call it, the other life forms, and some of the way that they view the indigenous species too. Like there's so many like little things that like I'm thinking of that I've experienced that it's wow. Like, yeah, like there are literally some really horrible people in New LA. And it was confusing to me because I'm like, why is this so full of like terrible people? Like, why? Like, what? And then now I'm like, okay, it makes sense. This game story hinges on a lot of doing green quests and affinity missions. That's exactly what I'm seeing, because like I think about it, and if I hadn't have done those, then I do think that this part maybe wouldn't have hit as hard, because you're not seeing like how many people are just corrupt. The antagonists, Sans Lao, aren't great is the main thing. Huh, I guess I'll have to see how I feel after I finish the game. I think green quests and affinity missions are truly pretty much all this is set up so amazingly, because we are in the MSQ around the we are here for our talents people, and then we suddenly talk to the people who only are ever in New LA in the shops and so on, and the dissonance is so telling. Yes. I think if you just mainline this game, you'd come away feeling like it's missing stuff. Yes. And maybe that's what a lot of people did, you know? Like maybe that's why some people feel that way. Like narratively, is it on the same par as like the original trilogy? Maybe not, but I think it's not mid. Like I think this is really great. Like I'm enjoying the story quite a bit. I think that there are very little things about this game that I'm not enjoying. I think the only thing that like is confusing to me, and that's just a personal problem, is some of the like the stats and the armor and the weapons and stuff, because there's a lot to learn with the stats. But that's not like, I don't think it's like a bad thing. It's just kind of a personal problem for me. It is crazy how New LA is an American city through and through. Yes. People had trouble gaining affinity, and there was a lot of green quests. Oh wait, that's right. Y'all did say that some people did not do a lot of the affinity stuff because it was really, really hard to do so. Okay, yeah, like it was really grindy, which is unfortunate. I'm glad they changed that. So much of the hate of the Manon who only eat pizza, but of course rich people see those super smart aliens as yes.
Tell me you got it.
Yes, sir.
Thank God. Let's get it analyzed.
Commander, hold on. Lau's still back at the Ganglion base in Caldros. He's seriously injured.
Yeah? And? What exactly are you getting at? I know you aren't suggesting we help that backstabbing bastard. He tried to kill you guys.
I am, but...
He's been through a lot, Commander. You know his story as well as anyone. When we signed off on Project Exodus, we knew there'd be cases like Lao. Potentially hundreds of them. Look at Irina. She's still struggling with losing her brother. But we moved forward anyway, for the greater good of mankind.
Girl.
Irina didn't try to kill us. In fact, she's been doing everything she can to help further Blade's cause.
Are you sure?
Hmm?
According to Gwyn, she's been acting strange. Reckless. Almost suicidal. He thinks maybe she wants to die.
It takes different forms, but it's coming from the same place as Lao. Of course, it's no excuse for what he's done, just putting it in perspective.
Fine.
God, all of the good people are just not
Thank you so much, Commander.
dealing, which is
I wouldn't
so
get too
fair.
excited about it. Especially after I break every bone in his body.
Oh my god, shut up. I'm so defensive of Lao now. I'm like,
It's
leave him
going to
alone.
take a bit to complete the analysis. Let's regroup at the barracks.
Irina losing her brother, Gwen losing boyfriend, Lao losing boyfriend, but of course the rich ones are just chilling, right? You know, I went with it. The situation is so horrifying when you're a decent person. It is. Like, and that's, I think about that too. Like, I feel like that is something that could that absolutely would happen in today, like in the world today, is that they would probably like pay the good people to come aboard because of their talents, like really, really talented doctors, or actually, would they? Now I'm thinking about it, because some of them are fucking anti-vax and shit. But I feel like, yeah, like a lot of the good people would not be able, like eventually it would take a toll, because just like, why am I trying to preserve people like this? You know, maybe that's what's happening. Maybe I'm also defensive of Lao right now. Handshake, Aiden. It's okay. We'll go to war for Lao. Oh, not the double yaoi. I have so many thoughts. Low-key, everyone pissing me off because it's hitting me how protective they are of such a broken system. Like, I know it's all they have, but I'm about to throw around. Right! Like, that's the thing, though. It's not black and white. And it's just like, Elma wants so badly to preserve humanity, but it's just like, you are preserving like some of the worst parts of humanity. Like, it's literally, I mean, you're not even thinking about, and like, I think that she was trying to be a little empathetic there by saying, you know, look, everybody's not handling it well. And it's just like, you think? You think they're not handling it well? I mean, realistically, I don't think a lot of good people would be able to handle this after a while. Like, so then you're left with all of the extremely shitty people who don't give a fuck. And are just extremely selfish. A lot to think about, a lot to say, a lot of feelings. I love the setup with Lin being around. Like, Lao actually hopes Lin was just here because they felt bad for her family dying for the construction, but actually no, Elma said no, she would still not have been taken with us if she was not useful. And I didn't actually realize that. I didn't actually realize that when that moment happened where Elma was defending her, and it was just like, are you just like, do you actually give a fuck, or like, are you literally just happy that she's here because she's so talented? Like, now I'm like rethinking that scene. Also, they keep mentioning his grief, which, yes, a huge motivator. He admitted himself that it became about revenge, but when he said about the process of how they got chosen as the root of all their problems right now. Right! Sorry, I'm catching up. Did you know in the OG we had to literally remember the hangout spots of party members? I did hear about that. Personally, for me, I don't mind doing green and affinity quests as long as I am enjoying the game, that and the characters as well. Yeah, I actually love doing the green and the affinity quests. They've been really interesting to me. And yeah, like the frustrations that I had with all of the people who were hating on the Manon, like now it just makes sense why there's so many people in New LA who are literally like awful people towards the other life forms. Like, it's just all making sense now. It's like, damn. Like, we brought over some of the worst fucking people because they were probably rich. It's funny because Shulk and Rex would never do what Elma said. Yes, yeah, Elma's very different from Shulk and Rex. Like, granted, Shulk did have the, like, initially he was very, like, how do you explain Shulk in the beginning of Xenoblade 1? He was also very obsessed with revenge, but eventually he realized that he cannot group like an entire group of people as bad. Like, that's what he was doing in the beginning, and I'm so glad that he had that character development of it. He was just like, you know what? It's a me problem. Like, I should not be viewing everybody as bad when it wasn't all of the Mechon. It was just like certain ones. Agree with what you said about the side quests, and that's why I don't agree with the opinion that this game has a bad story. Yeah, I'm kind of side-eyeing. I'm side-eyeing some people who were telling me that the story was bad now, because I'm like, the way I didn't expect Lao to become my favorite character, though. Wonder if I got his icon. Yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting it either. He's like one of my favorites. Sorry, I was catching up. I feel like Lau was lashing out at Lin and that scene. See, I don't know, like I'm rethinking it and I kind of want to rewatch it, but like at the same time, like I can see why he was so upset, because he's like, are you just here because your parents were rich? Because like that's kind of like he's, you know, obviously he's thinking about the system and how broken it is. And Elma saying, no, she's here because of her talent. And it's just like, well, I mean, I feel like there's, you know, like both of those viewpoints. Like, I don't know, like it just, now that I'm rethinking what Elma said, I'm like, I don't know if I like that much. Because obviously, yeah, like he just confirmed it, that they're only bringing people who are rich or who have talents that can be exploited. And like Lynn's only 13. I don't know, I'm thinking thoughts. It's like they're trying really hard to be like, this is based on meritocracy, but that doesn't exist in human society when people aren't on equal footing to begin with. Yeah. Also, the Maranian stuff is so telling as well, since so many NPCs talk about the resource market, like 1 month in, and we already have our oil capitalism working, honestly. Is also morally sick to know how they're exploiting Lynn. He's also a lot about what's wrong with the system with her. Oh, he sees a lot about this, what's wrong with the system with her. Yeah, that's kind of what I got too. Elma got an insane work ethic. I admire it. See, like, I don't know. Like, I loved Elma so much.
Thanks for the support.
Jesus loves pretzels. What? Thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate that. Enjoy your emotes. Thank you. Yeah, see, like, Elma has me rethinking stuff now about her. Like, she's just, I think the problem for me with Elma is that, like, at this point in time, is that she has very black and white thinking on this. This is a very complicated situation, and it's not just we have to preserve humanity, because you have to think about the people who you're bringing aboard, right? Like, you're preserving some of the worst people, and you're only doing it because they have money. And not even, like, obviously they're bringing in talented people too, but like, I don't know. Like, I have a problem with that because it's something that would happen today. Like, average people are probably not going to be prioritized if the world is ending. If our planet is being attacked, average people are probably not going to be prioritized. Like, that's just that. It's going to be people with skills and people who are buying their way onto the white whale. So I think that's my issue, is that fucking is horrible. Like, obviously, I don't know, like, I hate that because it literally could happen today. Like, it's absolutely something that would happen and could happen especially with the year 2025. Like, I don't know. Another amazing scene of Lau, I think, is actually this Sylvain stuff where he sends us into the trap and he tried so hard to have Lynn stay behind. Yeah! I need to rewatch some of the cutscenes now because I feel like things are a little bit different. Has its own flaws because certain plot holes in lore can be confusing at certain times. Oh, I guess I'll see when I'm finished. Black and white thinking with Elma and how much is that she's gone through the labor of debating over it and has come to her conclusions, is committing to them. I mean, I think that she also has the responsibility of being, because she was the one that saved humanity, right? Like, she's the one that, like, she's the humanity savior. And I think that she probably has a lot of that, like, still in her. Like, it's my responsibility because I did it to begin with, and, like, we have to, like, I know what I have to do. Like, she just has this, like, I feel like she thinks that her ideals are, like, she obviously thinks she's right. Like, this is how it's supposed to be. But, like, I don't think that she's thinking about, like, all of, like, the little things that make it complicated when you think like that, you know? They'll need my talents for tech support. I can definitely understand the perspective this species has to go on at all costs, but I'll be honest, even the bringing only talented people system is so questionable. It makes you think of everyone else. Us saying the same handshake emoji, right? I feel like Elma would preferable want to have save the entire race. wait, hold on. Have the entire, but they obviously didn't have the time or resources to. Yeah, but the issue is like, I mean, it's just like Lau said, the issue is that the only reason why certain people are on there is because they had money and because they had talents to be exploited. Like, it's not good. Like, it's not good. Like, I don't think that we're supposed to be viewing, like, I think obviously it's supposed to be a complicated situation, but I think from like, if you were paying attention to the news today, like, this is something that literally would happen. And it sucks because billionaires don't really have a soul. Like, and them being able to buy their way to save their lives is just disgusting to me. Like, that actually disgusts me. Because they don't give a fuck about, like, other people. Like, I mean, like, you know, average people, they just don't give a fuck. They can literally just buy their way on to the white whale. So I think that's literally what I'm thinking about. And then the fact that these people, like Lynn, for example, like, she was prioritized because she is so talented, but like, it's only to exploit her talents, to keep horrible people alive. Like, and obviously not all of New LA is full of horrible people, but like, we're seeing that the good people are obviously not able to fucking stand this. Was Lau born in 2025? Wait, what? What I also love is the whole Lau talk about cross-section of religions, cultures, etc. Because while the cathedral is officially stated to be for everyone, we literally had the Manon quest showing us how very heavily Christianity-based. Exactly, that too. It's supposed to be this, yeah, like he even said that the white whale was supposed to have everybody coming together, but like, that's not the case. Like, that's not what happened.
Hi, Mommy.
Hello. How's your day? Good. That's good. I do think Elma's philosophy is short-sighted. Sure, you have to get the resources to save people, but even from a practical standpoint, that saved population may not actually survive for that long if they're all not. Exactly, that too. The fact that Elma is sort of willing to stick to her guns on this matter, even if it's not the most ethical or righteous, makes her really interesting as a protagonist to me. It's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel, to be honest, besides angry. Like, I don't know. I'm just, and I think it's hitting harder for me too because of everything that's going on in the world right now. And I'm just like, damn, this is a little too real. I find Elma so interesting here. Like, Elma saying, I do not understand why you separate yourself into groups. It sounds so clearly like she pretty much just gave up fighting the system and just went on to be like, the people in power will decide. Right. You know what? And here's the thing. Elma's speech upset me a little bit because you know what she sounded like for a second there? And I was like, ooh, like I started wincing. I don't know why people separate themselves into groups. I don't see color. And I'm like, girlfriend, now I know you're not saying that. As far as I know, Elma, you're like one of the darkest people on board the white whale. Now, what is happening to you? If there were an apocalyptic event IRL today, I'm sure people would be in a similar situation. The 1% would escape, and the only expectations are those with skills they value. Yeah, and it's awful to think about that. Done it differently, but she kind of just accepted it. Right, she's just kind of like, this is how we have to move, we have to do this. And it's just like, why? And I mean, that's what makes it so complicated for me because Elma does seem like, in the beginning, I remember having this conversation about Elma too, where I was like, Elma is so different from some of the other people because she cares about the indigenous species. She's talking about how they have to live in a peaceful like situation with the indigenous species and respect them. Like, she just seems so different. And then she says this, it's just like, what is happening here? He's 30 and left. Oh, they left when it was 2050. Interesting. There's more nuance to the whole thing, but objectively speaking, Elma is still in the right, that survival was the right choice. See, like, I just disagree with that. Like, I think that it's so much more complicated than that. And like, even if you are trying to prioritize the species, like humans in general, it's like, I know that she knew that it's wrong. It's wrong to I mean, she even talks about it. Like, she even talks about it here. And like, look, it's backfiring because the good people are not handling it. Walked away and returned. Couldn't tell if we were talking about real life or the game for a second. Both? Enlighten Centrist Elma, stop it! Oh no. I think this also explains why we have some dialogue options where we sound low-key brainwashed when we get super protected over the system. Right! Okay, let me continue because now I'm just like, what is fucking gonna happen in this game? Someone would have leaked the information and there would be riots and rebellions. Right. Your frustration with Alma is valid. It feels like definitely a character flaw, but it's so interesting how her focus on preserving humanity removes her from her own humanity. You know what? Good point. It is very interesting because we did have, if anyone played the original trilogy, we had Sunshiny Boy Rex, and then we had Shulk, who was, you know, kind of acting a little bit like a bigot in the beginning, and then he was like, you know what, I'm wrong, holy crap, I can't believe I just did that, sorry, revenge is not that important, I should not be putting an entire group of people into a box. So we had these protagonists, and then of course we have Noah, who's perfect, sorry, bias, Noah's perfect, and then we have Elma, who is very different. Like, it is fascinating, actually. It's almost 5 and it would, oh my God, you're right. It would be a good stopping point. I said Rex. I said Rex is Sunshiny Boy. Rex is Sunshiny Boy. We have Shulk, who was obsessed with revenge until he changed. He had like the best character development ever. And then Noah, who's perfect. We can save chapter 12 for tomorrow and you can grind some more. Yeah, man, I want to keep going. Now I'm interested. I mean, like, I've been interested, but now I'm like, keep going. I can't. I have to stop. Stop it. Stop it. Noah, my beloved. Handshake. Same. I love Noah so much. My fave. You know, I have to finish 12. Don't worry, Lorie, tomorrow chapter 12 is gonna get very intense, is all I can say. Oh! Okay. At least check it and make sure you, oh wait, good idea. Okay. Yes, we can continue. What? It says required level 1, but recommended level 49. Who is level? That's interesting. Because I think the other ones required you to be a higher, that's weird. Am I 49? It says that I can continue. Because I'm at least level 1. Elma may have let 85% of humanity die on Earth, but Noah can't name things well. It's his only flaw. It's true. Rec means recommended. Yeah. They did it that way so you can just start the quest whenever. Oh. You finish chapter 12 in the next 4 hours. You can still get the Switch Online icon spoiler free. Oh, it's okay. I did get those because Effigy actually, he downloaded them for me because I didn't want to, obviously I didn't want to get spoiled. So I asked him to do it. I was like, can you do this for me? Without spoilers, you need a really strong ground build for part of chapter 12. Ground build, like just regular combat for all of the main quests in the remake, unlike the original. Oh, Noxma Green or Affinity. I mean, I have 10 minutes. I do have 10 minutes. I'm probably, oh my God, I have another one with Neil. But I'm not 48. Sorry, I got really excited because I love Neil. I love her. Do a longer stream. What's wrong with y'all? I can't. What's interesting about Elma is that we had an almost perfect image of her until now. Like, I personally did not catch on a lot of the questionable things she was saying, like the Lynn stuff. So unlike Shulk and Rex, where we got exposed to their major flaws early on, with Elma, I felt kind of betrayed. You know what? Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I feel betrayed by Elma. because I couldn't really put like, I don't know, I couldn't really describe how I was feeling, because obviously from this point on, I've been like, Elma's perfect. Oh my God, she's amazing. She cares about the indigenous species. She's different from everyone in New LA. Like, yeah. And then this scene, and like, I feel like the game was kind of foreshadowing that she was hiding something. Because we kept seeing her like have these looks, and then there was another scene where I think it was mentioned that she's hiding something. But like, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, maybe it's something like not, like it's nothing burger. But no, that's pretty big. Like she knew the secret, and just the way that she was going about it, she was like, well, it had to be done. And it's just like, you've betrayed me. I put all of my love and affection into you, and I thought you were perfect, but you're not. And like, it's like a case of never, what is the term? Never meet your favorites? Never meet your heroes or something? I don't know. Yeah. That's how I'm gonna be thinking about this for so long. Same. Never meet your Elmas. This your job? Yeah, you're right, it is. You also need to do the new in LA. Oh, wait. That's right, I do have to do another affinity quest. And all of y'all would prefer if I do all of the affinity quests on stream, right? After today, I'm going to start uploading my VODs from Xenoblade X. So if y'all are not already subscribed to the VOD channel, heads up, if you missed my beginning streams of Xenoblade X, make sure you subscribe to the VODs channel. Those are gonna go up as well. Because I just posted my finale of Future Redeemed on the VODs channel. I should do them on stream. Yeah, I remember people were saying that I should do that. Yeah, all affinity quests. Decided on spaghetti because no prep. I was gonna do breakfast for dinner, but halfway through frying the bacon, I changed my mind. So now I have breakfast for tomorrow already. That's good. I'm glad you prepared. Now is a good stopping point because chapter 12 requires some prep because it gets really bumpy gameplay wise. Okay. Okay. Then maybe I can do some blue quests off stream because I know the blue quests are not that important, like story-wise. Yeah. Be funny that the few affinity quests you did on stream would that include Bose? Help! What if I just ignore Bose? Like, pretend that he doesn't fucking exist. Y'all, I hate Bose. Like, I know it's not good to hate people, but like, I will always hate corrupt billionaires and bigots and Bose. I can't believe he's up there now with bigots and corrupt billionaires. Like, I fucking hate Bose. You gotta get to the core of it. I don't want to get to the core of it. He's a fake Buddhist. Exactly. There's everything about him just pisses me off. Like, when I think about Bose, I'm like, God, my blood pressure starts rising. Bose cultural appropriation, exactly. I try to ignore Bose, but I need unlock the arts he's got, which is kind of a pain. You know what I love about a lot of the Xenoblade community so far? I mean, so far, I love a lot of things about the Xenoblade community, honestly. But every time I talk about Bose, I have not met a person that's like, oh yeah, I love Bose. Because I feel like if somebody said that, like at this point, saying that you like Bose to me is like saying a slur in chat. Like, not to be dramatic. I just got in the stream to hear Bose hate, and I am in the right place. And Bose added to block terms. You're never dramatic. Never. Never. Absolutely not. Nobody loves Bose. That's like a self-report. See, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I feel like if somebody is out here, like, I feel like mods, if somebody comes in and they're like, Bose's my favorite character, I feel like we have to instant ban them. Like, I'm sorry, but I can't trust you. I can't. I just can't. In the original Japanese version, Bose was DLC. Imagine paying extra to add a racist into your game. No. Oh my god. They should have kept him as DLC, to be honest. Bose's existence only positive side is that some writer had the time of their life writing about those Western bigots who act like they love those Eastern values, right? But Yelv, HB, and Alexa were DLC 2 at least. See, I need to do more of Yelv because Yelv was freaking me out. When I first met him, I was just like, oh my god, what is going on with this guy? HB, I don't think I like either. And maybe, like, I don't think he's Bose levels for me. But he, like, he was giving off mansplain. And I don't like that, okay? I don't like that. So maybe he's a little bit better, but he's not Bose level. Maybe people love Bose ironically like Waka. No! See, that's an... HB's a lot more popular among the fandom than Bose. Okay, I feel like HB probably has a soft interior like Jin. Okay, but Jin is perfect, so... HB is entertaining at least. Me casually ignoring stuff, I have no idea who they are. Yeah, we're just talking about the characters in Xenoblade X. Are they... Sorry. I saw Aura farming again. Not Aura farming. HB is student council president character. See, yeah, but like he gives off such like mansplaining vibes, and y'all, like I get enough of that in real life. That makes me sound like I no, I mean like throughout my life, especially being a femme person in video games, I have gotten enough of that in my life. So I do hope that he gets better. I'm sure that he's never going to be on the same level as Bose, but I had my guard up when I first met him. I love all the girlies. I'm a fan of all of them. Is it my toxic trait that HB was one of my favorite characters in the original? Faded. Throwing away my water bottle. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, the Affinity Quest as well, because that was DLC while having some wild lore. Like, they really said pay for those reveals. No! I saw somebody on the Xenoblade subreddit saying they would pay money to not have Bose in their game. Okay, that was me on my alt account. I'm kidding, that was not me. But I agree, like, wholeheartedly, I agree. Like, I would pay money. Like, if I could pay, like, $10 to not have to see him or, like, have... Like, I know this is so dramatic, but, like... I would absolutely pay for him to get the fuck out of my game. No, like, I hate him. I'll be real, a lot of the men from the Affinity Quest don't really hit. Not that they're bad characters, they just don't hit for me. That's valid, because really, I think that, well, you know what? Okay, so I think so far, obviously I haven't unlocked everybody, but so far, I am a big fan of, me hovering over Bose. Yeah, right. L. I love L. I love L so much. Oh my god, he's perfect. Of course. I love Lau. I love Lau a whole lot. I think Doug is fine. Look at the way that I dressed him. And then I think Gwen is really cute. Like, I think he is, like, the silliest guy. So, yeah. I need to get to know Yelv a little bit more. HB, I need to get to know him more. I don't even remember getting him. Who is this man? Clearly he's forgettable because I don't even remember getting him. Sorry, no shade, but like... The drunk. The drunk, that's right. Is Bose a spinoff of Bezos? I have only tangibly absorbed what's happened. So think of Bose is a, he is a, how do you describe Bose? He is like one of those guys that's like, ooh, I love Japan because of Buddhism and it's so peaceful. But then he sees like a black person on the street and he was just like, woke. Like he would be a part of the woke crowd. Like he would literally call everything woke that even has like a little bit of, you know, other people that don't look like him. One of those people equals racist. Yeah, Bose was technically born in an era to make him a fortune. Oh. We have the same thoughts so far in the men. Of course we do. Fryby, okay, so yeah. I literally thought they were a video game Amazon CEO for a moment. No, but there is definitely, I feel like the vibe is definitely, we're on one of Musk's SpaceX fucking spaceships. That's the vibe. Does Bose control Azanom? Azanom. Most of the party members I like, Lorie hasn't even gotten yet. Don't worry, I'll get them. I need to, y'all, I need to unlock her. I need to unlock her so bad. I can see her ears. I've already like met her in the main story. Wait, was it the main story or was it an Infinity Quest? I don't know. But I need to unlock her. I love her already so much. I think I'm gonna be obsessed. Bose gives off the vibes of men who say, I'm not racist, I have a black friend. Stop! I'm violent again. Yes. Yes, he really does. Bose is a casual racist weeb. On the plus side, that's kind of all he is. New LA has a few cuts with people who are racist against Xenos, like it's a damn competition. Gladio, we were just talking about that. Like, New LA is full of, like, some of the worst people ever. Like, literally. Like, I feel like I can walk down the street in New LA and be like, oh, there's a Trump Jr. Oh, there's a, whatchamacallit? There's, damn, I can't remember all of the bigots' names. There's the host from Fox News. There's what's her face? I can't remember any of the bigots, but like, I feel like you could just walk down the street in New LA and start pointing out. I hate it. I hate it so much. And then all of the good people are just like, head in hands. Like, I hate being here. The Affinity Quest is in the industrial district for her. I love your people. Adam Howden being a voice option makes more sense now. Oh! You know what? That was honestly finding out the tea about Adam Howden makes me like, that made me so upset. Like, that made me so upset. I was like, no, why? You played a character who literally got over his racist ideals, like his bigoted ideals, and you like. Just want to say I really appreciate how open-minded your approach to the game has been seeing a lot of mixed feelings from X. From newcomers are expecting more of a trilogy feel. Really? Yeah, no, I was really excited about this game, and I feel like a lot of the times when people tell me, oh, you're not gonna like this because blah, 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 like it makes me want to play something out of spite. Like when people told me that I wasn't gonna like Final Fantasy 13, I played that game and I adored it. Like I love Final Fantasy 13. I am a certified Final Fantasy 13 lover. Same thing when I played Final Fantasy 8, everyone telling me I wasn't gonna like it. One of my favorite Final Fantasies. So I just don't trust when people tell me I'm not gonna like something anymore. And I am loving Xenoblade X so much. Like I love this game. They chose people to save humanity. They didn't send their best. No, they did not. No, why? What did he say? So, yeah, he's There's a lot with Adam Howden, unfortunately. He is a bigot. He is very much, he was caught liking a bunch of J.K. Rowling's posts, about like being transphobic. There was something else. I can't remember because I found this out like years ago. And it was very disappointing. So, you know, I love Shulk. He's one of my favorite characters in the Xenoblade series. But Adam Howden. You know who is a wonderful voice actor though in the Xenoblade community? Harry McIntyre. Harry McIntyre. I feel like everyone should take their love for Adam Howden. Like, I mean, like, it's okay to praise Adam Howden's voice acting. Like, yes, he did an incredible job for Shulk, but it is what it is with him. But everyone should take, like, the adoration that they feel for Adam Howden and transfer it to Harry McIntyre, because Harry McIntyre is amazing in so many ways. Like, he is great. So, I highly recommend checking out Harry McIntyre's streams, his D&D project that he does too. I love Harry McIntyre. Hi, Dolce. Love Howden's Shulk performance, and he's a big part of what made Shulk great. But yeah, disappointing person. Harry's wonderful though. Handshake. It just came in bigots. Yep, we're having a very I was gonna say we're having a very bigoted discussion. No, we're not. we're talking about our distaste for bigots. Don't think he said anything per se, but he has followed a lot of racist, transphobic, and anti-Semitic individuals. Also, like some of, yep. And then I think he unliked a bunch of stuff because people were talking about it. So he was like, you didn't see anything. He was kind of trying to cover stuff up. So, you're not gonna like something, it's because they don't like it. And sometimes it's crazy for someone to do it. Twitter be like, yeah, I would love Xenosaga. I'm excited to play. I can't wait. Natural Six Star Fun. Yes, he does stream Xenoblade Chronicles. Hi, Stick Teeth. Your fandom for JRPG is bound to solicit a small VO opportunity waiting on Lorie NPC reveal one day. I would love that. I mean, I've never had acting classes aside from improv. I've taken improv classes, but acting classes I've never taken. And I know that that's really important when you're doing voiceover work, but I think, like, I've literally been thinking about it. I'm like, that would be kind of fun. Harry McIntyre has been very supportive of trans people. He even did a fundraiser stream to help a member of his community get a gender affirming surgery. I remember that. And that's why I'm like, take all of that and give it to Harry McIntyre because he deserves it. He's wonderful. So he regretted he got caught, not that he did it. Yeah. We're having a bigoted conversation. Bose has entered the chat. Let's take classes together. It's on my bucket list. Let's do it. All right, I should be getting, but thank you very much. Oh, thank you so much for being here, Easy Peasy. It was wonderful to meet you. Hope to see you again soon. That's the second VA kind of ruins a character for me. The first was Colin from, I heard about Colin from Dragon Age Inquisition. I osmosis that from other people, and that's so... I understand. You know, the Bose fans chose the Adam Howden voice option in this game. Stop. I love hearing the Shulk voice. Like, don't get me wrong. I love hearing the Shulk voice. But, like, at this point, like, yeah. Like, I just... As a fellow Greg Ellis hater, handshake emoji, Adam Howden also voiced... Oh, wait! He did voice Anders from DA2. I'm screaming. I'm like yelling now because I forgot about that. Yeah, my 2 romance options, VA turning against me will never stop hurting. No! It really is. It really is like the worst when you find this stuff out. And it's just like, I'm glad that you revealed yourself because now I know, but yeah, I get it. Especially if like one of the characters are like your comfort characters. Like, I know Shulk is a comfort character for a lot of people, so I absolutely empathize. Let's see. Let's go. I want to go raid Megan. Okay. Let's say Lorie will love. Every time I see Lacelle, I think of Lizelle because they have a great affinity quest. I don't want to spoil, but her stuff is peak. I can't wait. Excuse me. The further back in time you go to Takahashi's pre-Nintendo days, the more M-rated this exploration of his usual themes gets, which I love, but also content warning. Yeah, I know Aiden was telling me that, like, there's, he was putting together, like, a document of trigger warnings for Xenogears. So I'm like, oh boy. Anyway, Derek, have a good one. Thank you so much for hanging out. We're gonna stop for today. Thank you so very much, everyone, for hanging out and having these conversations. I know some of these conversations are heavy, but at the same time, I do feel like these are themes that I love exploring, especially in the year 2025. I love exploring them any time, but I feel like these are so important to discuss and talk about and to kind of put a magnifying glass, because these are some really big themes. These are some really important themes to talk about. So I'm glad that we had the discussion. We will continue to discuss because I'm sure there's more to come. And yeah, I love Xenoblade. I do. I love the way it just makes my brain go think thoughts. I love it. I love this series. My first playthrough of the game too, and glad to see other people cover this. I love talking. I love talking, yes, but I love talking about this and hearing other people's perspectives and just having an entire community conversation about it. So, love Xenoblade, all of them. Handshake.